we lose a lot of great characters, like in the run-up, kind of like before we start recording. Like Ozymandias Bill Clinton, who plays Warhammer.
Oh,
that was
gosh.
a genius concoction we had.
At one time, he was the star of our hit sitcom, Everybody Loves Bill. I still think there's a market for Bill Clinton's sitcom. You know, I mean,
man.
It wouldn't be good, but might make
No, it
money.
wouldn't even be like palatable.
It's a little
it would
past
be
his
great.
prime.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome, folks, to 30-Minute Worlds, the podcast where we build a fantasy or sci-fi setting in 30 minutes with minimal cash investment on your part. With me are, as always, Dan Kennedy and Zach Chessman. I'm Walter Kunkel, and we have the wonderful Ianara Natividad here, who's worked in the TTRPG industry for many years, and who's a good friend of ours.
Hi. But,
Yep.
should I... Oh, God. Should I say something? I don't know. I'm supposed to say, holy shit.
And it's like, no, you got your type 5, right?
I got the impression that you had been on a podcast that...
Ianara has kindly agreed to be our first guest anchor for the evening news.
Neat. But yeah,
So
words.
we're looking at some prompt words here. Chessman, I'm gonna throw you a curveball. What's the prompt word you're gonna be picking?
Abandoned.
Oh,
Okay.
The first two
That's-
before that were nougat and pastrami. So
Pastrami World, that might just get a little too close to Hair World, you know?
Abandoned pastrami.
yeah, our best episode, man. We can't fucking do that.
Abandoned pasta.
It's like a alternative apocalyptic Italian world building. Let's see.
I think we've already done that, haven't we?
Oh,
We'd get
gosh.
dragged.
If we haven't, we're doing it.
Oh, no.
It's a real spaghetti western.
boy.
Abandoned.
Chessman, can we cut all of Dan's audio after that line?
I'm just going to cut it all out.
Well,
I thought that's what we always did.
historically, the Talons actually really loved the Western genre. They'd import actors and stuff to actually, like American actors, to act in their Westerns, but they
Yeah, to
weren't
like
good
voice
Westerns.
Italian shit.
What's
Oh, man.
crazy is they dub everything in Italy.
Yeah, it is
right?
insane. In
Oh,
English.
yeah.
Everything. Like, if the Italian, like, Brad Pitt voice actor is at least as famous as Brad Pitt in Italy. It's a recurring problem for Brad Pitt in Italy.
So weird.
My word is gambling.
Gambling?
Gambling.
Okay. Abandoned gambling. Okay. My word is Talon.
Like a claw?
Yeah, like a claw, dude.
Like the claw.
Wow.
The Talon,
Okay.
yeah.
All
Oh,
right.
jeez.
The Talon.
Abandoned gambling Talon.
If it's
All
any
right.
consolation, you know, he did once give car radio or car phone as a prompt.
No,
right.
he did car
All right.
radio. Car phone was
Base
almost...
rule is we can't do a Fallout New Vegas based
Yeah,
world because that's,
we would be hacks.
that's immediately what I heard. It's like abandoned gambling. Okay, let's not do a post-apocalyptic set in the Mojave Desert.
It's just because I've always wanted to write for Obsidian
Yes.
on that one project.
On that one project. Man, that's my default is
Abandoned.
apocalyptic because I feel like abandoned works really
Yeah.
well with that, but it's also
Abandoned.
it's like
yeah.
the easiest world to do.
There's no
Yeah, what-
shame in taking the easy road.
That's true.
Let me
What
tell you, you got
else?
two other
Yeah.
prompts to work in there.
Yeah, abandoned, gambling, and Talon.
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 Like a
Talon.
bird's talon?
Yeah, like a bird's talon. No other creature has talons, right?
Like a chicken talon.
All right.
Yeah.
Chickens are birds,
How
yeah.
about this as a basis? I like to do fantasy stuff.
Okay.
I'm thinking of some sort of avian people that at one point lived somewhere else. So, what would be a good place that they had originated from? That essentially that would be where the place they abandoned. Some would say.
Some big old tree, like some world tree kind of shenanigans.
Yeah, some
Something
bullshit
like that.
tree that they gambled in.
Or they lost.
But they lost.
They
Explain.
lost.
Dan.
It was
No,
a big-
Dan. You're
It
onto
was the
something.
big game, man. They bet it all, and they lost it all.
They,
A society of itinerant bird gambling people.
Well, maybe it was a macro gamble. Let's not take it just as a Vegas. Here's my home tree
Right.
that my entire people live in. Bet it all on black or red or whatever. But maybe it's a kind of a macro scale gambling.
you mean like they made a bad investment?
They
something.
settled in a bad place, perhaps. They
Oh.
invested in agriculture when something happened that decimated agriculture. I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like maybe
Talon.
they made they were like looking for a new tree, and they put they moved everybody to this new tree, and then before realizing that it was in like some sort of like, maybe like, I don't know, natural disaster zone or
It has a
something.
termite infestation. They didn't realize it was
Dude,
all
Birds eat
underground.
termites.
Termite
That
people.
doesn't-
Big ass termites.
Oh,
Termite
shit.
people?
With chitin spears and fire hardened points.
Yeah, they
and
were the
stuff.
native species there until the bird people came, thinking that they had the entire thing to themselves. Because that never happens.
Oh god.
So we're talking like an insectoid menace from below.
Mm-hmm. Or within.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
within
within.
too, because they would be able to create their own tunnels. Okay.
I don't know if they're a menace. I mean, it's their tree, right? The birds are the ones that just gambled everything and showed up. Now they're fucking up the tree. Man's got to eat.
Yeah.
So they abandoned the tree, and where do they live now?
Oh, that's the question, isn't it?
They live in a giant talon from a
Go on.
larger bird.
or
I don't
maybe
know.
Okay.
maybe there was a big old conflict between the initial tree and the insectoid species and this avian
Right.
species. And what they ended up doing was, it could be really morbid, is my morbid way of thinking, is that they gathered either the shitting or the remains of their fallen bird friends, and they'd use it as materials to help them get by.
Oh yeah, like the beaks for like pickaxes and shit.
Mhm.
Like, oh,
Okay.
that's dark.
Yeah, it is. But if they're avian people, they probably like have a relatively not quick, but relatively quick, development, repopulation. And then
What's the
So-
tech level here?
the what? The tech
The
level?
tech level. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm
Because
not sure.
I was thinking that Talon could be like a super weapon that the bird people were developing.
A super weapon?
Yeah, to get rid of the termites. But then something went wrong and they had to abandon their tree.
Let me remind the lore lad in this moment that it is entirely within your power to veto or
It's
just
true.
completely change
I
anything
think
that you.
using it as a project Talon, that if we wanted to go for something more high tech, it's a legitimate thing because it's edgy enough as a project name that it could mean something,
Mhm.
but also
Yeah.
be completely unrelated to what a Talon actually is.
But there's all that
Okay.
pressure
Plus, don't you want to do high sci-fi birdmen
to find the
fantasy tree?
the acronym and everything.
That would be total fantasy. You can't have fantasy without some innate acronym.
I mean, I had kind of been envisioning something like not Neolithic, but like kind of like not metalworking, right? That's why they're scavenging materials and stuff from the
Okay,
bird
okay.
corpses. What if the termites are nomadic and they go from like tree to feed on the wood?
But that would mean that there were other great trees that the birds could settle in, right? And the point of gambling was that there was only this one, correct?
And they picked the wrong one. What if it's a world of giant like megafauna, like not
Okay.
necessarily trees, right? So there's like giant like whole like swamps that are born out of like one like cypress tree and like giant baobabs and shit that cover like whole like several square miles worth of ground acreage. I already said square miles. It doesn't matter.
Acreage and square miles are, yeah,
I think that would
both measures of.
They're identical. They're 1-to-1.
That doesn't sound right.
They're
right, let's cut all that out.
1-to-1.
I think that would make a lot of sense actually to maybe have a planet of megafauna, but not everything can be a massive tree. Based off resource of availability as well as distance, because if you have too many massive trees, like in a limited area, you'd have competition, mainly for space. Their roots will start tangling with each other, and who knows what's going to go on.
Well, it's dangerous to live on the ground because the roots do strangle each other, but they form like labyrinthine. This is why the bird people are able to survive, is because on the ground it's a labyrinthine mess of roots and termites.
Oh.
Yeah, just bottom feeders, right? Like giant insects and shit that are scavenging random crap off the ground.
Yeah,
to eat.
shit. You know, and like if a tree rots, it becomes like, you ever see Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind?
Yeah.
With that fucking weird biosphere that the crazy insects live in.
The big, like, and then whole sections of the world are just basically uninhabitable in Nausicaa, but I don't know if we want to lean into environmentalism or not with this. We can, but...
I mean, we were already
when
leaning
you
into
put
the whole
giant tree on the,
the whole plight of native peoples versus invading species. So why not one more thing on it? Why not?
Why not?
It's a thematically diverse setting, all right?
It's extremely thematic, reflective of its times.
A lot of ebb and flow in there.
So I think we might have flipped at some point, but I wanna make sure, who's the invading species in
Dude,
this
it's the
situation?
fucking asshole birds.
It's the asshole birds?
It's the birds. If they name a project called Talon or something, or even just name anything Talon, I feel like that would be the asshole-ish move.
Okay. It's because the termites are eating the tree. You kind of have this sort of dynamic where, like, if they're eating the tree, then like you like, oh, maybe they don't respect the tree.
Well, the
And,
tree
like,
is also their
we're
home,
cool
right?
birds, so I mean, like, we're better, clearly.
What if the birds do suck though? I mean, like they kind of, first of all, they're the apex predators of this society where everything's ground-based and insectoid, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think at least some of them suck. I mean, like, whoever's heading Project Talon probably sucks.
Yeah.
What is
Like, I've
Project
seen enough
Talon?
anime.
Yeah, what the fuck is Project
that's
Talon?
a good question.
It got mentioned as a super weapon, so I'm thinking immediately I thought of like a Woody Woodpecker mech sort of thing, but that wouldn't work if we. Or it's meant to peck out all
But
termites.
Wouldn't it work?
What if it's something like it's like a gas or something that they would flood like the lower, like the labyrinthine root systems with to try and kill off all of the bottom feeder life?
But that
like,
could kill the roots if it
It's
was
heavier
bad
than air,
enough.
and yeah, they don't give a shit if it kills the roots because they weren't
Well, it's a
thinking.
gamble.
They're gambling with their lives.
It's just an idea.
No, I kind of like that. I think it's actually kind of neat because they're further destroying the biosphere.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think they want to destroy the tree because the point of them assaulting it was in order to make it essentially a stable home. But they can't get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
But they can't get rid of the insectoids unless they do something severe, or else they just keep coming back.
Yeah, like my thought had been that their intent here was not to kill the tree, but like to kind of kill the scavengers that feed off of the tree and around the tree.
Mm-hmm.
But they obviously want the tree to live in because it's safe.
It's kind of a an arms race scenario, right? Because you've got, if these birds are developing some sort of solution to like rid the termites from the tree that could hurt the tree, and the termites can literally eat the tree, then there's they could both destroy their habitats essentially.
Where did the birds come from?
We never got that part.
Because if the whole world is giant trees, why don't they just move to another tree?
That's where they came from.
They came from a
There's a limited number of megafauna in the world, right? And like it was probably a great like exodus for them to move their populace from one tree to another.
Yeah,
because you got like the babies are flightless and the old people, like you have to like carry them in slings.
I guess like
and
there wouldn't be continents as much as mazes of roots and trees and root masses that stick out of a swamp or an ocean, right?
The ocean is just a gigantic kelp forest.
Oh, that'd be cool.
It's like all the life in the ocean has developed underneath, like in a completely lightless environment. But that's not really related to what we're talking about.
I mean, if we have, I guess it depends on the nature of the fauna. Because if you have something like fauna, there has to be a source of some sort of water, right?
Yeah.
And if the surface is just covered in all this megafauna, then maybe the water is not on the surface but beneath instead.
Well, it would pool in recesses too. There would be rivers. If like the
Maybe rivers
roots
underground.
form like a brain squiggly pattern. I fucking.
That's a technical term.
Wait,
It's
does your
a
brain have
technical term.
squiggles in it? Walt?
My brain has too many.
That's it.
Oh no.
But there would be tons of like little lakes and recesses there if the roots are as big as we're saying they are.
Okay.
That's true.
Yeah, that makes sense. It would like carve out paths through the roots.
Right, and it would just pool in large like recesses and form like little forest pond, like ocean-sized forest ponds, essentially.
So what I'm seeing right now from based on that is that all the trees are what in some places at least just or fauna is poking up above the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so like big ass like coral growths and stuff.
You mean flora,
Like-
right?
Flora. I mean,
Flora are
I've always
plants,
been sort
fauna
of.
are animals.
Oh,
I
shoot.
have been saying.
Yeah,
I have been saying megafauna.
I've been
this whole
repeating what he's saying.
time.
If it helps think of like a fawn, like a deer fawn,
Yes.
that's an animal.
I was thinking to him, this sounds kind of... Well, okay,
Right.
he said it. I'm a
No, yeah,
sheep.
I hate NASCAR.
I hereby strip you of your title as Lorelai.
No, there's no amendment for that. Yeah, I meant flora, but I mean megafauna could work in
They
the setting,
could
but
fucking exist.
Kaiju.
I mean, if you got
Dude, fucking
Yeah,
kaiju insects.
Maybe that's Talon. It's just a massive bird.
what if Project Talon?
actually though,
What if
Yeah.
Talon is a fucking huge god that they pray to?
It's okay. If we were gonna go very kaiju, Talon would be like their like ancient ancestor that's like gigantic that they found
Who hates them?
deep in the roots.
He's like Crom.
well, they don't know he hates them, but they're trying to awaken him
Mm-hmm.
to smite
he'd
smite
be a
their
bird,
enemies.
though, right? Like to awaken him, they'd call him down from the sky or the moon or whatever.
No, he's from the moon.
is
Oh,
an
what-
egg.
What do you think, Laura?
What if they started gathering the remains in order to create a sort of pseudo vessel?
Oh, shit.
Effigy of a bird that
We
they
are
call...
just making Nausicaa with birds, which will.
I was actually thinking Bug's Life, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's more like Bug's Life with Mecha.
Oh, no.
So they're creating like an anti god or something.
creating-
like a false god.
Talon, the end to all life.
Ooh.
Oof.
Or they don't know that, but they're sealing their own destruction. They're gambling on creating Talon.
It's like, hey, Finch. You know the prophecy says, and the winds of death follow his wings. Do you think that they were being like literal when they wrote that? or-
probably just death for bugs, dude. Don't even worry about it. Help me put this phylactery on.
It's a metaphor.
It's all metaphorical.
It's all. They always write all these prophecies. You can never read them literally. Like when it says, "And then the world will end forever." Period. That's it. You can't take that literally.
It's open to interpretation.
Yeah.
You gotta, a lot of wiggle room there. They're all
define forever, Chessman.
they're all bug prophecies too, which means they're all written down in pheromonal ink, which is impossible for birds to read.
Oh, okay.
I mean, maybe they just don't have writing. Because
The birds?
the birds might. I don't think the insects would.
Yeah, I don't
part
think
of
they
it
give
is
a shit.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think
The birds
like,
can scratch.
like oral, kind of oral
Mhm.
traditions would be really big with insects, specifically because they tend to have, they probably have shorter lifespans, so that it becomes imperative to keep passing it on. And for whatever reason, maybe they didn't, or rather, their lifestyle doesn't really encourage keeping records. I don't think.
Uh-huh.
Well, they would eat it
Yeah,
because they're termites.
cave paintings, so
What
they're
would
gone.
they write it on? Man.
Delicious
Oh,
art.
that ink
Delicious.
looks real tasty, I gotta say.
So the termites, how many world trees are there? There can't be that many, right? There have to be some that just get discovered across like oceans.
Well, what,
Yeah, I
what
would
type of
not-
world do we have? Do we have like a normal global, like circular world, or do we have like some weird ass planetary formations here?
Oh God, we're gonna have to cut 45 minutes.
We could do like, I just had an image of like a disc world with like massive lichen or like the lichen like hanging off the edge of like the disc. I like that.
That'd be cool.
We don't have to do that, though.
We could do that shit.
Like a giant, like a planetarium or something, like a hanging
Hang
pod.
on, dude. What if the world is like, you know how you cut a tree and you leave kind of that vertical, that disc space? Well, what if the mega trees are just tiny little saplings growing out of a solid disc of wood that encompasses the actual world? And the sides just sheer vertical drop of a massive tree.
Oh, so the world is a tree stump.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
No, I like that too, because then you can be like, yeah, there's like
it's really good.
massive hordes living in the stump, like way down there.
And
in
it
insects.
implies there's a bug god living below the stump, burrowing his way up, and his children are running from him, the termites, further up to the shoots of the trees.
And from above, there's a Talon, or
Yeah, Talon,
As
the
his name.
hateful bird god.
There's like wow, where do the elves live in? There's like an Elfheim, but it's birds. That's like way above the. It's like they live in the clouds.
Vannerheim.
Sure. I guess they wouldn't live in the clouds though, right? Because it's the tree. They would live in they would live in the canopies. But that's where
further high up from the stump, there's no atmosphere. This is a gargantuan stump, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. But this is where this is where Talon lives. He lives high up in
he lives in what's space for them, yeah.
He lives beyond the sky.
He lives beyond comprehension. He is cruelty.
It is kind of spooky that these termites could be they could eat down through the entire stump.
Well, this is the thing too, is like if the whole world is wood, there's no place that's safe from the termites, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
even caves are like carved out by termites. So even like if you have a cave system, that's a cave system that's been carved out by termites long ago.
Yeah, likely, or by their ancestors.
What if there's an element of competition there? Like, what if there is an ant colony in the stump as well? And so it's not just overrun by termites, right? Like there's a competition for space.
So we need like a kind of like a surface dwelling ant people, the menacing termite people, and then the bird people. So we have three sort of races there.
Well, they don't necessarily have to be menacing. It seems like as though they're just scared as hell of whatever's
I
beneath them.
I think making the world entirely wood has made them scarier for me. Because it's like the bird people, they can't go further down to the surface, right? Because they wouldn't survive. But there's no place further up for them to go because they're already in the peaks of all these shoots.
So maybe in their lore, in the bird lore, Talon came down long ago, and he's the reason that the whole world isn't overrun by termites.
Well,
because they should have free
wing
reign.
beats shattered the great tree that originally existed here, leading to the formation of the world.
Oh, that's spooky. He just destroyed a world
metal.
tree. Oh, jeez.
We cut it in half like a Pokemon move a little bit.
It's pretty awesome.
We should definitely wake him up and tell him about our problems
wake
with
him
the
up.
bugs.
Talon, the subtlety god.
And then he'll be really responsive to our bug infestation.
And the birds are just like, so this thing about Talon destroying the world tree and hating, that's all interpretation, right? It's all open.
Yeah. Oh, everybody's got creation myths. Don't worry about it. Just keep doing your research.
Very symbolic.
So they haven't built Talon yet, but they're trying to.
Mm-hmm.
This implies that they're probably the most technologically or magically advanced society in the world, if that's how you wanted to think about it.
I think more probably towards magic at this point. We're getting really hard into kind of divinity, religious belief, and
Yeah, that's some Miyazaki shit.
like druidic magic. Really, if not some necromancy. If you think about creating a body for a god out of the dead.
Well, you could go Evangelion with it, but let's not.
No, it's divinity. It's not necromancy. They're different.
Get in the bird, Shinji.
Get in the bird. We'll make the termite girl do it.
So
what do they need to build Talon?
They need their fallen comrades and shit, right?
Yeah, probably souls, right?
Yeah, like the corpses.
A fair amount of Birdman sacrifices, right, would go into building Talon.
Probably, and I think eventually they rely also on the remains of the termite people, just because they think we're gonna need a lot more than what we can produce, even with sacrifices, and that could be part of the gamble that they did, and that ends up being what really pisses off Talon.
What
honestly.
if they have to go adventure into these abandoned trees that have been completely overtaken by termites? Those could be hubs for adventure.
Yeah, and it could be like maybe the talons and the beaks, like the remnants of bird people, have a sacred power to them because they're linked to Talon. And the termites use these as tools. So
yeah, they can cast magic if they have Birdman talons and beaks. Like their shamans wear them or whatever. That's cool.
Carry around like an eyeball and like a jar of tree sap. It's your great granddad's, and I'll let you cast True Sight.
Well, no, I was thinking the termites could steal Birdman body parts and use them to do magic.
Oh, so how would you bury? You probably wouldn't want to bury your dead if you're a let's say not talking about Project Summon a God here. The birds probably wouldn't want to be burying their dead. They probably would want to put them someplace that they'd be protected from termites, like on top of a pillar or something.
Zoroastrian birds.
Right, but what are pillars in this world made of?
Rocks, my dude.
If you put them on top of something, then the termites would have to go all the way up that to get to them, and it's just probably not feasible. You just let them rot away in the wind, like the Tibetans. The Tibetans.
Maybe that's adventure for the termites, though, is actually going above
finding
where you should.
Fucking Birdman shit.
Oh.
What about these ant people that you mentioned, Dan? Let's talk about them and their culture. How do they feel about termites? How do they feel about goddamn birds and Talon?
So I picture the ant people as an interloper species into the world stump.
Yeah.
And they're fighting for space with the termites in the caverns below. They would like to get, because that's what ants and termites and other sorts of below ground dwelling nest insects do, is they kill each other for space and for resources. And I think it makes sense also that the caverns would be infested with ancient beasts like earwigs and centipedes and shit. Yeah. You don't want to go down there.
I just think it's kind of interesting because termites live under the wood, and the birds live over the wood. They live outside the wood, but ants have to live in this liminal space.
Ants have no niche.
They have to build you ever see an ant mound? It is built on the surface of. Built on the surface. It goes beneath the ground. So they're in between the termites and the birds.
Yeah, and termites are killing them from below, and birds are preying on them from above.
Yeah, it sucks to be an ant person.
It truly does.
But they're really tough, right? I imagine they're quite great warriors.
Because they're all armored. Because termites have that stupid, fat underbelly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ants are strong as fuck in real life.
So many of them, too.
Oh, fuck yeah.
They could probably war with the termites to kind of occupy termite spaces. Because the termites themselves essentially are equipped to go through this wood and create spaces for themselves.
Yeah, and the ants hijack them.
The ants technically can do that, but they're not as, with dealing
they're better
with
at fighting and taking shit from the termites. In underground Vietnam. Tunnel man.
Spider nom.
Spider nom.
Oh man,
Spider
do
company.
spiders have a place in this world? It's already terrifying, dear God.
Yeah, I'm sure that you can always
There'll be
find
the aliens that kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they could fall out of
Because
the
there's
sky.
still the rest of the world tree that was technically lopped off.
Sometimes they like float in on like parachutes of silk.
Oh shit, like their children do, yeah.
Oh god.
Hated by all races.
So like when a spider egg hatches, right? Because it's too dangerous to go after the eggs because they're guarded by these ancient monstrosities that are just impossible to kill for the normal insect folk. Everybody has to go out and kill as many of the baby spiders as they can. It's like a big hunt. Because
it's rumored,
that's when they're vulnerable.
It's rumored that the spiders have a god from beyond, kind of like Talon, who keeps sending the babies there, essentially.
Oof.
Spooky. I definitely don't think spiders should be common, though, right? Like, it should be like a big, fully grown
they're
spider
like
should
dragons.
be.
Yeah, they're super rare because they're not of the stump originally.
But very dangerous.
And they eat their own young and a bunch of other crazy behaviors.
Yeah, I am imagining the horror of walking upon, like, you see like a field of dead ants, and you realize a lot of them aren't dead. But they're struggling against the like gigantic surface of web that they're stuck in, and then you see a spider like coming towards and like eating them one by one. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like a baby spider if you think about it too.
It's just a baby. Ugh.
The termites have he who hungers beneath. The spiders have their like nameless star god. The birds have Talon. Do the ants just have like a queen who's like actually a physical embodiment of their god?
Yeah, I would think that the queen is like, it's a deity that is born into the next queen whenever the old one dies.
It'd be cool if the ants were like fervently nationalistic or had a concept of nationhood.
They just call their queen mother.
It's just Warhammer 40k but with ants and a queen.
It's absolutism. Yes. The queen is the state.
Oh shit.
Oh yeah, because the queen doesn't really do anything. She just like lazes around and gets sex all the time. I think that's what queens do.
What did you just say about the queen? I swear to God, I'll kick your ass.
Motherfucker.
You swear to the queen, you'll kick her ass.
That's right.
Oh,
Goddess, forgive me.
I'm just a drone, man.
But the antagonists are the dick-ass birds and spiders.
You really hate birds, Walt. I think really
they're trying to
birds.
Resurrect Talon.
Yeah,
they're trying to resurrect Talon.
There's a little bit of moral ambiguity there, though.
He's gonna wipe out all life.
Look, we've been over this. It's just like when you say end of the world, it's kind of like end of the world as we know it. When people say that, they really mean just like something new, cool's gonna happen, like the age of Aquarius or something,
Would it be possible for adventurers to form like multiracial parties in this system, or do you think this is hostile to that?
Depends on communication, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
There was a way to communicate between these species, and it's possible.
I think ants and termites could have pheromones, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
How are you? Are you role playing pheromones? First of all, like if you are playing ants and termites, you can't do it.
It's a lessened version of the Avatar tail hair thing. It just happens as opposed to showing everyone you're connecting their tail hairs.
Right. It's a conversational amplifier. It's like, yeah, okay.
It's like somewhere, someplace, James Cameron sneezes.
Or maybe
scratches his nose.
Any of the ants or the termites end up getting the beaks of any fallen of the avian people. They can use that to eventually converse with the birds. I don't know, being able to talk to it, and somehow it helps. Magic.
Magic.
Yeah, I am. Magic is good.
Real shit.
Yeah.
Magic. So we've talked a little bit about the bird people's magic. And I assume the termites have some sort of magic.
If they're stealing it from birds, or if they've learned how, yeah.
They don't have any sort of like wood shaping magic or something like that.
That might be cool.
Maybe that's just their physicality that they can.
Maybe the birds are a source of magic power, and the termites can channel that into their own form of magic.
Which is like the termites just sort of like enhance their ability to eat wood.
So it's basically like blood magic using bird corpses.
Or like gut magic, but for wood.
Gross.
I do think that makes sense. I think it would also connect back to He Who Devours from Below. Is that he's technically the source of their magic, and while they fear him, maybe they don't understand he's the source.
Yeah, I mean the birds. I mean, everything that is devoured turns back into the tree eventually.
Yeah, that's true.
And so then everything that is the tree is like the birds came from the tree. So like technically the birds are like He Who Devours domain. Like they need to return back to the wood.
Yeah. And they're refusing that. Their time has come as a species, and they don't realize it.
So the termites have like a death cult. Like they worship like the idea of like returning to the tree and feeding he who hungers below. That's not a nice god.
No,
I
he
don't
sucks
think.
too. Yeah.
None of the gods are nice
They all
so far,
suck.
teeth.
I think it's implied that they're like running from him.
Ianara, did you just say something rude about the queen? I swear to the queen.
Last time you're on this.
Oh, gosh.
Nope.
No, please, my dear queen.
No, this is cool. I think that with the ants would be the most numerous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they just show up and explode in population.
Yeah, they drop in and they're fucking big and they can lift 8 times their body mass and they're fully armored.
Maybe the birds have tomb trees because their bodies are valuable, right? So they would have whole like mega trees that they've just like piled bodies on and kept as shrines. And the termites are trying to fight their way up into these like 1 or 2 sacred trees.
They like leave them.
I think they would hang them
Oh.
to make it hard, because even if they manage to climb, you either risk going over and trying to untie these bodies, or, well,
I like
you
that.
could fall.
That's some powerful imagery. Like you come up on a mega tree and there's just scores of dead birds just hanging from them.
They probably like position it so that their wings are still out. So it's like even when they're dead, they're still lording over you.
Yeah.
It's fucking intimidating.
And the well-maintained ones, because there's probably really old ones too that are abandoned. Wink. The well-maintained ones probably still have the feathers on, or like they like put other feathers on there to make the wings still look like wings and like maintain the bodies. But like an old place is just, it's all bone. It's just like it's just a skeleton that's like may or may not still be hanging up entirely.
I like the setting a lot, guys. I think we do have to wrap, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're getting to that.
We've run a bit long. It's been a pleasure having you on, Ianara.
It was really fun.
It was really awesome.
Yeah, that was fun.
Oh, well, we hope you're available again sometime if you want to be a guest.
Sure, just hit me up.
If you guys liked our show, you can follow us on Twitter at LoreLads, or check us out on iTunes and Spotify, or send us hate mail at 30minuteworlds@gmail.com. Also, feel free to follow Ianara on Twitter at iMachinate. Everyone, take care, stay safe, and happy world building.